Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is my favorite day. I guess it's not everyone's favorite day, but it's Monday, which means it is Ghost Story and Makeup Monday. So I love these. First of all, I have an email address that you can send all your ghost stories to. You guys have been amazing. I do a video series for those who aren't familiar where I help my subscribers with makeup, and I have an email address for that too. And I have more emails in my ghost story email box than I do in my makeup email box, so I know exactly what kind of people you are and I love it. Thank you for the ones with pictures and videos. You guys are getting into it and I love it, so thank you. For those of you who don't know, I do these videos every Monday because it's kind of a break from, although I'm doing makeup, it's a break from the seriousness and the world of makeup and all this kind of stuff, and we can just all kind of laugh at the ghost stories, be scared at the ghost stories. If you're me last week, cry at the ghost stories. So I love doing these videos, so thank you so much for loving them too. Let's zoom into my face and let's start reading some ghost stories. Ooh. So you guys last week in the comments were like, we want a red look because I'm always doing blue, I'm always doing purple, which it just happens. I'm just drawn to it. So today we're doing red. I'm going for possessed by a demon look. Oh, don't forget to subscribe. So I'm just going to go in first with my paint pot and Painty from MAC. And the first story we're going to read is called Skeptic Turned Believer. Ooh, this should be interesting. Okay, it says, big fan, thank you. I hope you read this on your Ghost Stories episode. Here it is, it's coming up. Oh, can I just say something? A lot of you last week were saying how sorry you were about my dog passing away, and it wasn't my dog, it was the lady who sent in the story. So I just want you guys to know that none of these stories are my ghost stories. I don't have one, unfortunately. They're always somebody else, so I'm reading them from their email. When I was younger, I dated this guy who lived with his father in an apartment complex that housed a lot of elderly people. I only mentioned this because in the time I knew him, several of their neighbours passed due to old age. The first night I spent over my boyfriend and his father's house, they warned me that his apartment was haunted. That would set me up for the whole night. I'll be seeing everything if somebody told me their house was haunted. I was skeptical as they told me their stories of hearing and seeing things. Nothing happened that night, but a short time later, things began to happen to me that I couldn't explain. Items would go missing but then appear perfectly placed together on the staircase. I heard someone run up and down the stairs, but when I looked, no one was there. I started to notice his father refused to sleep upstairs in his bed. What was he so afraid of? I think we're gonna find out. Sometimes you get the feeling you are being watched or followed when going down the hall. One night I went downstairs for water and all the lights were off except the hall bathroom. I could hear someone rummaging through the drawers and I thought it was my boyfriend's dad. I called out his name and the rummaging stopped, then started again. When I got closer, I could see in the mirror no one was in the bathroom. I even looked outside for his car, but it wasn't there. Later that night, while I was sleeping, I woke up to that feeling of being watched. I couldn't move my body aside from my little pinky, and I began to panic. I could see a shadowy figure out the corner of my eye. All the hairs on my body were on end. Ooh, mine are now too. After what seemed like forever, I finally regained movement in my arms and legs. I immediately turned away from the figure and repeated, "I don't want to see you," over and over in my head until I fell asleep. That was the last time I ever stayed there. Too right. Anyways, that's my ghost story. Hope you enjoyed it and keep up the great work. Thank you so much. I did enjoy it. That must be difficult. What if your partner's house was haunted? Like you would never stay there, right? Because you kept seeing stuff. You would just be like, this is not all I want for me. I'm gonna hollow out this whole eye area. I want to be like possessed, but in a pretty way. Our next story is called Vicksburg Cemetery, or Cemetery, depending where you're from. Here we go. It says, "Hello, Robert, that's me. I don't particularly believe in ghosts anymore. I learned that once I stopped actively looking for it, I stopped finding it. At the same time, I have absolutely no explanation for the so many things that have happened to me." I'll give you an explanation. Ghosts. No, I'm joking. So, Vicksburg Cemetery is a tiny, tiny cemetery in I can never say this because Minnesota? It sounds, everything American just sounds so weird in an English accent. Anyway, to get to it, you have to park your car just off a highway and walk through the woods. It's overgrown and many of the headstones have been vandalized. That's so fucking disrespectful. I hate it when people do that. In school, they made us go and take rubbings off gravestones. Like, it doesn't matter if they died in 12th century, someone's still buried there and they were still once a person. I don't know, I just find that disrespectful. When entering the cemetery, it kind of just looks like a patch of grass in the woods. There's many stories about this place. A witch being buried alive, evil twins that kill their parents are supposedly buried there. I want to know their story. Red glowing eyes in the trees, bleeding flowers, and sudden fog when you enter. My God, that sounds terrifying. I went with my boyfriend at the time. We went during the daytime. I recorded my entire journey there. At the time, I lived about 30 minutes away. When we arrived, I parked my car and we began to walk the trail through the woods. There's a wooden gate when you get to the cemetery. We stepped inside and wandered around for a while. I continued to keep my camera recording. Nothing happened. We drove home. And that's the end of the story. No, I'm joking, there's more. We got home, I decided to watch the video. Instantly, when I stepped into the cemetery, you can hear a statically voice say, "Kayla, help me." Ooh. Oh, my eyes teared up. Oh my God. 1 second, let me just take that in. At no point did I say my name, nor did my boyfriend the whole way there. We decided to go back the next day. I only recorded audio this time. Oh, you're asking for it. You're asking for it now. I sat in the middle of the cemetery and asked questions, hoping to hear an answer, but there was nothing. We headed home. It was dark by the time we got back. My boyfriend's aunt was over and she quickly confronted us when we arrived. She was furious. She told us that when you go there, you're safe within the cemetery, but once you leave, something follows you back. She told us that the younger kids have been seeing a ghost in the house now since we went there the first time. That is quite the burden to carry. It's your fault we're haunted. That night, I went upstairs to get ready for bed. I stopped halfway up the stairs. A dark, cloaked figure was standing on the steps. I screamed and ran outside the house, crying to everyone still sitting around the fire. We wound up having a full exorcism on the house that night. Absolutely get some kind of priest or something up there. My God. Before one of my boyfriend's family friends could perform the exorcism, I would get a faint feeling and feel sick. I felt like the life was being drained from me. It was awful. She performed the exorcism and said the house was safe. We performed a few extra steps just to make extra sure. We prayed. I'm not even religious. I'm not either, but if it worked, if it got something out my house, I would be praying every day and every night. I even slept with a Bible and a cross that night. It was so scary. That night we slept on the living room floor. The next day we decided it was time to move back upstairs. I slept on the side closest to the door like usual. I had a clear view off the hallway. Even if you aren't being haunted, can I just suggest to everyone out there, and even I do this, from my bed, if the door is wide open, I can see right into the hallway. And just part of me is like, one day I'm going to see someone looking at me through that little gap, like a curious little ghost. Just popping in to give you a little haunt, you know? Whatever that thing was, I never felt it. I never told anyone I still saw it. It would stand in the hallway and stare at me at night. Oh my God. I saw it every night until we moved out. Do you get used to that? Unfortunately, my phone was stolen with a video on it, and I tried to upload it on Facebook. The entire video was static, of course. Instead, I'm just going to attach some photos of the place where my niece and I last visited. I've been there multiple times in the last couple of years with her. She's super into ghost hunting and it makes her happy. I have not experienced anything in the last few years I have been going there. Just started watching your videos, Robert, and when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, I have tons and tons of stories. We'll definitely be sending you more in the future. Please do. That was incredible. I think the worst feeling, it must be horrible to have something you don't know what it is watching you sleep and then like keeping it like a secret and then going to bed. You know, usually you're just like, oh my God, I can't wait to go to bed. But I mean, if something was watching me from wherever, I'll be like, I'm never going to bed again. You can sell my bed, you can take my bed. I'm not going to bed. Well, thank you so much for that story. This is okay, so this one sounds pretty scary. The drowned girl in the pool room of a holiday apartment came with a friend. Oh, right. So it says, "Hi, Robert. I've been watching your ghost videos and I love them. I honestly live for this shit." Me too. After you said about being a drowned ghost, that was my look last week, a dead drowned ghost, I thought you might like this story. My dad never told us this story until we moved house. So my family and I moved into this huge house in Surrey. Stop, that's where I'm from. And it had an indoor pool room in the garden which was detached from the house. I thought it was so cool having a heated indoor pool. Obviously the novelty soon wore off. I always thought the pool room was a bit eerie and never went in there alone. When you walked through the door, to your left was the pool and to your right was the changing room. One day my dad went for a swim and did his normal routine, got out of the pool and went to the changing room to dry off. He had the sense that there was somebody else in the room with him. As he turned around from the changing room, you can see the pool directly. He saw a girl about 12 years old standing there, soaking wet, wearing a white cotton dress. He turned away, obviously bricking it. That means like pooing yourself. Turned back around and she was gone. Safe to say he never went in a pool alone. I wouldn't even breathe in that house alone if there was a ghost child, which seems scarier than ghost adults. He never told us this story until we moved house, as he didn't want to frighten us. He didn't get the sense that she was malicious, but scared him enough. Yeah, of course. My dad and I are very sensitive to this kind of thing, so it makes it hard sometimes to ignore. And then we have a bonus story as well. Another story I have. So, I was on holiday with my family, and on the last day, we had to all share a small studio apartment. There were 5 of us all together. And as it was our last day, we just thought we would do this, and so the new family arriving wouldn't have to suffer in this room for the night. However, I wish that we didn't. I was about 13 years old, now 25. I had to share a double bed with my parents. Guys, I'm so sorry, my contact lenses are like moving around. I was 13 years old. I had to share a double bed with my parents, and my brothers were on the camp beds on the floor. One next to me as I was on the side of my bed, and the other brother at the end of the bed on a camp bed. I woke up in the middle of the night for no reason and could see a dark silhouette. These dark silhouettes. Honestly, if I ever see a dark silhouette, I'm just going to assume I'm being haunted. That's my life now. Oh, sorry if my chin's been cut out with video again. I'm not very good at this close-up zoom situation. I thought to myself, oh God, my brother has been partying a bit too much and is going to be sick or worse, pee on the floor. I wake up my mum and dad and say, look, can you put him to bed? I'm worried he's going to be sick, etc. And dad both whisper shout, get to bed before you wake your brother. I know what you mean by whisper shout. Anyways, as I put my head back on the pillow, I look at the floor and see that my brother's actually in his camp bed. The silhouette is still there. I look at the end of the bed and my brother is still there. I then really begin to shit myself. Yeah, I say to my mum and dad, the boys are both in bed. And all 3 of us are still staring at the silhouette. And all of a sudden, it just disappears into thin air. Usually this kind of thing I would put as a trick of the mind when half asleep. However, seeing as both my parents saw it, it's hard not to believe it was some kind of presence. Oh, shadow people. It's shadow people that are so scary because it's like, are you or were you human? Or are you just like some kind of unknown... I don't know. Do you want to hurt everyone? Or are you kind of cool? Like, what's the deal? Well, this turned purple very quickly, didn't it? But you know what? There's still some red in there. I still kept my promise. So the title of our next email is Ghost Story from India. Hi Robert, my name is Malavika. Malavika? Sorry if I pronounced that really wrong. I'm from Mumbai, India. I stumbled upon your channel only a month ago and have been binge watching your videos ever since. Thank you. I absolutely love your videos and you have such a fun, spunky personality. Thank you so much. I'm writing to you today to share a personal ghost story with you. It's not scary, but it's rather an endearing one. I love that still. I'm a cat person. I have cats at home since I was a baby. I remember a few of them standing on their toes and looking at me from above the crib. That is so cute. Fifi is my childhood cat, and we have rescued him when our neighbours abandoned him when we was 2 to 3 years old. Oh, poor baby. Oh, and his little picture. He was a grey and white mackerel tabby with the most gorgeous green eyes. He was very human-like, understood everything we said, and was my best friend. He would know when I was sick and upset and was always there for me in my bad times. So cute. I love a good animal sixth sense. I had him for 20 years and I had to put him to sleep because he was suffering from many old age related complications like end stage kidney failure, an enlarged heart, and water has started to accumulate in his lungs. Oh, don't get me started on animals. The next few months were very difficult for me as it was a huge loss. It's like I lost a big part of me that day with him. I totally understand. We are Hindus and cremate our dead and immerse the ashes into a water body, an ocean, lake or sea. Since he was family, we did the same for him after he passed away. Oh, I love that. I'm about to put a lip liner in my eye. Don't try this at home. Do it at your own risk. It's not meant for your eyes. But I'm trying to look possessed here. I want my eyes to look really sore. I had the urn in which the ashes were kept with me for a day, which I had placed inside this glass cabinet in my room. We were going to immerse the ashes the next morning in the sea. I had woken up in the middle of the night to go use the restroom and saw Fifi sitting inside the cabinet looking at me. He looked just like he used to when he was young. He had no ailments and his health had been restored. I had to rub my eyes to make sure it was actually him, and it was. I think I didn't even end up going to a restroom and kept looking at him for what seemed like 30 minutes. Get these brows nice and spiky. A possessed person has no time to care for their eyebrows. They're busy doing other things, like making their voice deep and being sick on you. I ended up dozing off again. I think he had come to say his last goodbye to me and let me know that he was okay. Oh my god. And waiting for me to cross the rainbow bridge when my time came. Oh my god. Animals. I can't deal with animals dying and then coming back. 7 months before he had passed, we had adopted another cat who we named Alex. I would catch him staring at places Fifi used to sleep. He would intently stare at certain parts of a house at times, never blinking, yet never felt threatened. Cute. Oh, I hope they were friends. They had grown fond of each other and I believe he could sense his spirit. This happened for 12 days, after which his staring stopped. We believe that a human soul roams the earth for 12 days until it makes its way to heaven. Alex doesn't do it anymore, and he hasn't once acted like that ever since, which leads me to believe he could see Fifi. He's now 4, and he's a handsome big boy. Cute. I hope you enjoyed my story, sending you loads of love. I loved that story. I don't know if you saw my video last week, but that dog story had me in tears, and now you go and do it with a cat story. So if you want to make me cry, you know what to do. Okay, so I'm going to tidy up a little bit because I have some mascara going on here and I just want to finish up some darkness around my eye. So while I do that, I'm going to let my good friend Christina, she sent me a video of her story and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to use her video in this. So while I finish up some bits, we're going to listen to her story together. Yeah, and see what she has to say. Take it away. Guys, I completely forgot to mention that she has filmed a video herself of doing her makeup and telling another ghost story. It is a really, really nice story to watch and listen to. Yeah, and it's a perfect balance of like scary and emotional, and you know how much I like an emotional story. So yeah, go and take a little look, let her know what you think. Subscribe to her and give her a big thumbs up as well for sharing this story with us.
Hi, my darling, you okay? Just a quick one. This will actually be quicker than actually writing you and trying to explain in words. So this one goes, it was about 15 years ago, maybe even longer. Me and my ex-partner were being to a clairvoyant. He was quite sort of susceptible to spirits. I think so. I'm really not sure. I think he was just taking a piece really, but who knows? We won't go into that. Anyway, we done a seance. And when we was doing the seance, obviously we don't use a Ouija board, we used a glass, and so when we all got our fingers on the glass, and the glass was really, really circling really, really violently, which was really scary, to tell you the truth. It never done that before. It was always really slow and quite precise where it was going to go, but this one was all over the table. It was really, really spinning fast. We was actually really struggling just to keep like the fingertips on it. So that's sort of the glass sort of shot off. It didn't shoot off and smash, but it sort of shot off, and obviously we lost contact with the glass and our fingers. Didn't think anything of it. It sort of shit us up a bit, and so just went and done our own thing. But the next day, my partner started to feel like really low, sort of depressed almost, but really lethargic, really tired, and sort of throughout the day it was getting worse. And it come to the point where he came home at dinner time and he says, I've got to go to bed, I'm really tired, I don't know what's up with me, my head hurts, my whole body hurts, don't know what it is, don't know whether I'm coming down with something. We didn't think anything of it, and then I sort of started to think, well, this has come from nothing. And then I started to think, well, what about if it's something to do with the night before? And so what I did, I found the medium who I've seen in the past, told her what I'd got on, told her the symptoms, and she said basically a negative spirit had come through on the seance, and basically it had attached to the weakest person in the seance, which was my ex. So I thought, shit, what you do? Obviously, I mean, when you start thinking of doing seances, you've really got to sort of dig deep, and you don't really know what you're getting into. That's why I wouldn't sort of do the Ouija board. So she says you need to think back and think of how many people's names or whatever happened in the seance. Write it down on a piece of paper, what the names that come through, because you always sort of get names come up in your head from anywhere. You'll just get a name, so sometimes that's a sort of gateway to connecting to people. So we wrote all the names down on the piece of paper, all these different ones separate, rip them all up, like sort of cut them up into separates, and she says then you've got to burn them, but you've got to burn them sort of surrounded by the same sort of setup as your seance, with your candle, your glass of water, and you've got to sort of almost expel these spirits and sort of tell them to go away. I thought she was taking the piss. I really, really did. And I thought, okay, it's worth a try. We don't even know whether it's something to do with that, but I did. So I got my little ashtray, got all these little pieces of paper, so each one by one, got the lighter, burned them, expelled them, say that that we don't want your presence in the house. If you've attached yourself to this person, please detach yourself and let him be in peace. So I did that, and then I put them out in the garden on the breeze, if you like. Within half an hour, that guy was out of bed and cutting my lawn. What the hell? So he'd gone from nearly dying to cutting my lawn, and he felt amazing. He said he just almost felt like something had just lifted off his shoulders. Now, I mean, I'm totally open to all different things, but that freaked me the fuck out, seriously. I'll see you in a bit. Love you loads.
Thank you so much. This is the reason why I never get into like Ouija boards, all this kind of stuff, because I'm like, somebody is going to stick to me. They're going to be like the weakest person in the room and stick to me. All right, guys, that is the ghost stories for this week. That was a long one this week, but there's so many amazing stories. Thank you so much for joining me. This is our demon possession look. I went for a kind of like more grayer sculpt, just so I look, I don't know, not healthy, I guess. But yes, thank you so much. If you have any ghost stories, creepy stories, weird stories, it doesn't have to be spirits, anything like that, then please go ahead and email them to me. Thank you so much for joining me here today, guys, and I will see you very soon. Bye.